And welcome back to Lantern Corps. Today, I was about to go into box office mode. Today on the 11th of October. But welcome back to Lantern Corps video. This one goes to us from Luke Morehouse, who asked the question, what is Darth Vader's Pokemon team? Lantern Corps. That's a different video. Haven't been up very long. But because I had day off, I'm able to at least do this whenever I feel like it. Vader is actually very complex in a lot of motivations. Um, I literally just realized I forgot to add one onto this. So I will probably actually go in and add a lantern. Oh, or at least bring it up in the actual description, not description, but the actual rundown. Vader, yeah, born as Anakin Skywalker, we know Vader ultimately was seduced by the dark side. He was ultimately saved by his son and brought back to the light before his death, though. So when we cover Vader, we gotta focus on Vader. We cannot focus on Anakin Skywalker before he became Vader, and we really can't focus on him when he was saved by Luke, because at that point Vader was dead. Anakin was brought back. So with all that said, let's break this down. First up would be the obvious Red Lantern ring. That's because the dark side is fueled by a lot of negative emotions, fear, hatred. Um, Fear, hatred, things along those lines. And the Sith are usually powered by rage a lot of the time. Vader would be no different. Rage would be a very good Lantern Corps for him. Surprise, as well as the other one, fear. Fear will keep the local star system in check. Fear, this ultimate weapon we have created. Vader is a scary freaking dude. I mean, that scene in Rogue One where he's in the hallway, you saw the immediate fear on those guys' face, like, ah! If someone just looks like that in a black hallway, dark hallway, ignites a red lightsaber, and looks straight at you saying, you're going to die, or with a look that says, you're going to die. Yeah, that's a scary thing to be going up against. 100%. Vader was feared throughout the galaxy. Feared. So fear would be another great Lantern Corps for him. A couple Lantern Corps I don't think he qualifies for. Life is an obvious one. Gold is an obvious one. And Hope. Hope is probably not a very good Lantern Corps for someone like Vader, for very obvious reasons. Not to say that even villains can't have hope put into them, but it's not a matter of just being a beacon of hope. It's a matter of having hope, having faith. And Vader isn't really a very good definition of a hope lantern. One Lantern Corps that, like I said, actually, I can probably get it up here right now. One Lantern Corps that I did not put on here that I honestly should have, because it ties in with another lantern here, is, one second, where are you? Come on. There you are. Come on, feel the noise. Vaders, rock you boys. And caught up their hands is Shame. The Shame Lantern Corps, there it is. Whoop, Shame. Shame Lantern Corps actually wouldn't be a bad, or Ultraviolet Lanterns, wouldn't necessarily be a bad Lantern Corps Vader. Vader felt a lot of shame with I mean, it was a lot more rage than shame, but he definitely still felt a lot of shame, especially what happened with his wife. He technically killed her. No, he didn't even technically. He more or less killed her. And he carries a lot of shame over that. There is actually a good argument he could be a shame Ultraviolet Lantern. Compassion. So compassion is an odd one. Because Vader, well, most Sith are completely without compassion, at least in the general sense of the term. Vader is not devoid. Vader has spared people before. If you look at some of the comics, he has spared people. Particularly, I think there was a comic where he actually recognized some of his old friends when he was Anakin from Tatooine, and he spared them. There is at least a mild bit still of there where he's at least willing to be compassionate in a very mild sense. That's not to say though he couldn't qualify. As Vader, he still was pretty compassionless. So I don't know. Compassion's an odd one to throw in there for me. If I were to be a betting man, I'd say that despite the fact he almost is without it, his qualifications for all Lantern Corps are stronger. Obviously, Death would technically be on here because he's dead by the end of the series. Vader is dead. Anakin lived and then died to get back as a Force Ghost. But yeah, Vader's dead. So technically, Death would work, but we're not doing that. Then, believe it or not, he could actually make a pretty solid Green Lantern. 1 second here. Why did the... There we go. He could actually make a pretty solid Green Lantern. This is because you have to overcome great fear and have great willpower. Now, fear is a seductor to the dark side, to be sure, but once you're there, that's a different thing entirely. And he really was not afraid of much at that point. He was scared of the Emperor, sure, but he would also be willing to overcome that when he killed the Emperor. But at that point, he was Anakin again. Still, it's a rule of two where, the apprentice wants to, the master has the power, the apprentice craves it. And he might, I don't know if he wasn't scared of Obi-Wan, as far as we could tell. He was angry. It was really just rage at Obi-Wan, especially when you see the Obi-Wan series. It was rage with Obi-Wan. He hated Obi-Wan. It wasn't fear. So yeah, I'd say will is at least on the table. Another thing that he would Corey call for is avarice, because the Sith, by nature, are not satisfied. They want more. They crave power. Again, the master has the power. The apprentice craves the power. And the Vader being the apprentice, that made sense. So avarice would work in this case. To what degree, though, is the question. And then finally, and this is the little odd one out here, Sapphire? Now, I say that because he never stopped loving Padme. He never did. It's just that all of his rage and hatred and all that was kind of more in the driver's seat. But he never did stop loving her. So you could make an argument that every action Vader has taken is out of the loss of his love. Now, with that said, as I just said, love wasn't necessarily in the driver's seat. So I think while this is still a possible candidate, it's not the most likely candidate. So now we got to play Operation and dissect these down into the final Lantern Corps that he qualify for. So as I said, Sapphire is probably the least likely one that we'd deal with. I'd also say this: shame is probably the least likely one as well. Again, Ultraviolet. He felt shame. Certainly he did, but it wasn't the thing that dominated him. I will also go so far as to say that green is probably a no-go, mostly because Vader's too violent, I think, for a Green Lantern ring. The Green Lanterns, well, you could certainly qualify one. It's a matter, not just qualifying, it's a matter of being able to hold on and keep said ring. And the Green Lantern Corps would probably not accept Vader very well. So that would leave us with the remaining candidates of avarice, fear, and rage. So between these three, all three of these are actually probably solid candidates. I will say this, though. While we know that by nature the Sith should be avarice, like particularly Sidious. Sidious, I believe when I did Sidious, I had him either a fear or an avarice lantern. In fact, avarice, I think, is what I ultimately had him at. So while, yes, he definitely has the avarice because he wants more power, it's actually not really demonstrated very well in the series, the level of greed he has, or level of ambition, I guess would be the better term, and desire to take what his master has. So it's even in the games, it's a bit more well demonstrated in the games, but it's not I think, his defining feature. Which leaves us with red and yellow, fear and rage. And this is, I think, honestly, this is a toss-up. This is a coin flip. You could go either one of these, and he'd be a perfect candidate for either. I will say, ultimately, between the two, fear and rage, he's not out of control with his... Now, obviously, there are Red Lanterns that have learned to control their rage, certainly. and harness that rage. So Vader could fall into that category to be certain. But unless it was in his inception at becoming Vader, like on Mustafar, I would probably go with the Fear Lantern. And again, it's like I said, this is really a coin toss. Because while he is certainly that uses his rage to motivate and empower him, to be certain, it's a tempered rage. He's not raging out all the time like most Red Lanterns would be. He actually he keeps his rage under control a lot of the time, even though that anger is always there. Whereas, like I said, the inception of Air, when he was created, it's like, you see where it's like, I hate you! And, him being turned into Vader. Yeah, I think that would be the key moment he could become a Rage Lantern. Other than that, though, it would just be a matter of if a Fear Lantern ring, a Yellow Lantern ring, isn't around him, then, yeah, he'd still be a Rage Lantern. But if there's two rings, a yellow and a red, and we're dealing with Prime Vader going in throughout the series, then I think he's a Fear Lantern ultimately, because he was a scary ass dude. Look how Obi-Wan reacted in the Obi-Wan series when he saw him, just like, holy crap! Like Obi-Wan was scared out of his mind. So ultimately, yeah, I think Vader, when you break it down, is a Lantern of Fear. But that is just my opinion. What do you think? Do you think Vader is a Fear Lantern, or do you think he is a Lantern of a different persuasion? Let me know in the comments below. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time.